Hi, and welcome to another episode of Odds and Ends. I'm Montgomery County Auditor, your host. This is a program that is produced by the Montgomery County Auditor's Office on a monthly basis, and we appreciate you joining us this month. We have a very exciting guest. Each month we have exciting guests, but this one's very special to us. This is the first time we've ever had another county auditor here with us, so we're very happy to welcome Matt Nolan, who is the Warren County Auditor. Matt, thank you for crossing the border and joining us. We gave him special permission to cross the border today.
I have to be back by 2, I think. That's
right. Of course, I've done a few things down in Warren County too. You have to get special permission. But no, we appreciate Matt being here with us. I've known Matt a number of years. He's let's see, when did you become the county auditor?
I've been an auditor for 11 years now, but it was chief deputy for the 4 years before that, so 15 years.
15 years. So I've known him at least that long. And you were assistant prosecutor for a while before that, right?
Exactly.
And of course, I have to mention your predecessor.
Yes.
Now I can't think of his name.
Nick
Nelson.
Yes.
Nick Nelson. Knew Nick very well, and Nick was always held in very high regard among the county auditors. So you have the privilege of working for Nick for 4 years. So
it was the best, and present company excluded. I don't think I could have had a better mentor, and really just a great man.
Yeah, I think we all just thought a lot of him, and he was county auditors all over the state always reached out to Nick anytime they had an issue. But now I also remember Les Spaeth.
Oh yeah,
Leslie Spaeth was the county auditor before Nick. Nick was his chief deputy, I think, for a while.
He was for a long time.
Yeah.
And Les was there for 24 years, and Nick was there for the 28 years after that. And I got the privilege of every Wednesday night, there was a group of us, those two included, that played cards together.
Okay.
So I got to sit there and listen and play cards with those guys for years. It was great.
Well, Nick knew how to have a good time.
He did.
He knew how to have a good time.
So did Les.
He liked to boat. He liked to boat and be on the water and things. So anyway, he was a real good guy. And so you had the privilege of working for him and couldn't have asked for a better mentor.
That's right.
But you were assistant prosecutor before that. Did you do legal work for the auditor's office?
I did, yeah. I represented the Board of Revision, and that was kind of always my area there, as I represented all the local governments in the Board of Revision and auditor and treasurer. And Nick had done an amazing job building the office and keeping things in place. But in Warren County, politics are often an issue, and there was no one in the office that wanted to deal with politics. He'd had to run campaigns, and they weren't fun. And so he was trying to find somebody that, A, would do the politics, but B, that would take the time to learn. These are complicated jobs. You can't really just come in off the street and do these.
Right.
I got 4
Although
years
people do there are people who think they can.
It happens, but I don't recommend it.
Yeah.
I don't recommend it.
And of course, Warren County has gone through a lot of growth during the period of time you've been there, and especially I started to say in the southern part, but the northern part as well, and the Springboro area and Franklin.
Third fastest growing county in the state, and has consistently been in the top 3 for the last 30 years. And I keep waiting for it to slow down, but it doesn't seem to be happening.
Well, I think we all can say that, right? Yeah. Looking at the real estate market and how it's affected all of us. Yeah. It's been. Yeah, we keep saying, well, it's gonna burst, right? Yeah. The bubble's gonna burst here any time, but that bubble just keeps getting bigger and bigger.
It does.
So we're glad to have you with us. Now, you also have the distinction of being the president of the County Auditors Association this year. So
I don't know if distinction's the right word, but I am serving in that role, yes.
I don't know. I think a lot of you, and I think you're very talented and bright, and I encouraged you to run for president a few years ago, and you told me no, but I'm glad to have you in this position. I think it's an important time, and you've got the skills and expertise I think that would be helpful to all of us. So
I appreciate your support all the time, but this, I don't think most of the time I would be good. In this time, we've got to do some things to help legislatively fix, and that's the skill set that I do think I have. There's a lot of others I don't, but that one more so. So trying to work towards that end.
So let's talk about that a little bit. So one of the things that our association has been working on are some legislative proposals. We've all been dealing with the growing property value problem, issue, challenge. I don't know if I want to call it a problem so much as a challenge. Yeah. Your county is same as my county. And just, first of all, just educating people on this whole process is a challenge. I'm doing an event tonight where we're going to talk about just people realize every time we do want to update, they'll say to me, "Well, didn't you just do one of these?" I said, "Well, yeah. Every 3 years.
Every 3 years.
Every 3 years we're doing this." And so, yeah, in the current environment, the last time we did one was in 23.
Right.
So we're scheduled to do an update and a full reval in 26.
Right.
So we're working on that now. 23 update, we were 34% on average countywide. We're not all in the same cycle.
That's right.
So you just completed yours.
We're 24. We're always the year following you, which is a huge advantage for us because we can just kind of watch you guys and see how to do it right. And so, yeah, we were 28% in 24. And from everybody I'm talking to, it's going to be a similar number next time around. It's not really slowing down much. So.
Same thing for us. We've seen things slow down. Yeah. We don't have as many sales,
Right.
but when I say we don't have as many, you take the past couple of years out, it would still be record-breaking.
Exactly.
Record-breaking. So the number of sales has slowed. And, things don't turn over as quickly as they once were. But that price just keeps on growing.
That's
And,
exactly.
and people's interest rates don't seem to have an impact.
Right.
Inflation doesn't seem to have an impact. How do you account for all that?
And it's so hard to explain to people. I had a former county commissioner come and tell me, you got to find a way to explain this so it's simple. It's not simple. There's nothing simple about it. And so doing things like this, just trying to get people to understand how it works. Because for a lot of people, it's the biggest bill they pay every year.
Sure.
And they have no understanding of how it's calculated, what it is, and trying to, one, make it easier, but two, educate them. Because you should know what your taxes are, where they're going, how they're set up. People need to know that.
And every county's different. And our situation is kind of unique because again, you're our neighbor to the south, but it's a more rural setting, versus us, we're being a more urban setting,
Right.
and so there's differences there. I always hear this, Matt, from people. How come the taxes are so much lower in Warren County or Preble County or Miami County? Why are the taxes so much lower? Why are the taxes so much lower, Matt?
Well, there are different levies that people have voted for. Really, that's what it is. Most of it's related to levies. And in Montgomery County's case, it's mostly human service levies. And we don't have in Warren County. Mm-hmm. There is no human service levy in Warren County. There is no parks levy in Warren County or Preble or most of the rural counties. And almost all of these are democratically decided decisions. People vote on levies and they make those decisions. But what we're seeing, and I think you've talked about this before, and we've seen it, they're getting closer and closer.
Right.
When I looked at this 20 years ago, there was a pretty big gap between most Montgomery County taxpayers and Warren County taxpayers. That gap has closed significantly, again, for a variety of factors, but as your levies keep coming down and ours have flatlined, the numbers growing closer and closer.
Getting more difficult, too, for the entities to pass a levy.
Absolutely.
Again, you going back 20 years, if the township or city put on a police levy, well, that was just guaranteed to pass.
Guaranteed, right.
A library levy, just guaranteed to pass. Sinclair Community College, those things, school levies, just, it's a no-brainer, it's going to pass.
No.
That's not the case anymore.
And we talked about that fire. You brought up Sinclair. We have a great Sinclair campus in Warren County. We don't have to pay a levy on it. The Montgomery County voters. So Warren County's always benefited from that, taking advantage of it. We don't have a zoo levy like Hamilton County.
Right.
We go to the zoo, but we don't have to pay the levy. So Warren County kind of benefits from all of that. But it used to be fire levies. I never saw a fire levy fail. You had to try to fail a fire levy. We haven't had one pass in years.
No.
Every one of them fails now. We've got a couple on the ballot in May, so we'll see. But I think people are about at their capacity. They're not willing to pay much more. But those services are becoming more and more expensive. So there's going to be some issues. We're going to have to find a way to pay for them.
Yeah, a lot of these entities, people don't realize this. A lot of these, they don't have any choices.
That's right.
It's not like they have an income tax. You can do a school income tax, but not many of those are successful.
Exactly.
We've had a couple in Montgomery County, but
Carlisle, the one we share, has one. But
but so most of them are dependent on property taxes, and they don't have many options.
That's
They're small communities, and the tax base is small to begin with, and so you're really asking your people to really stretch themselves in order to pay for the services they want. But they want those services.
Right. They need, I mean, a lot of time, for insurance, I mean, we need fire service, we need police, you want all of those things. There's a cost to them, And
So, the big beneficiary of the taxes are the schools, and it's pretty much the same across the state, about between 55 and 60% or more of every tax dollar, right, goes to local schools.
More in Warren County, closer to 70 in Warren
Is it
County.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Because you don't have the human services levy.
Exactly.
Yeah. Do you have library levies?
We have very small library levies. Nobody's more than a mill.
Okay.
But we have none of those levies that traditionally have. We only have mental health recovery services and DD, senior services. Those are the only countywide levies that we have.
Yeah.
So very few.
So that makes a big difference. So as we're seeing the property values increase, it's caused people to focus more attention on that, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the issues and the challenges that we're talking about these days were always there.
That's right.
They were always there. But
You and I were talking about them, but we were kind of the only ones.
Nobody else wanted to talk about it. That's true. But then the schools are a particular issue because of a thing called the 20 mil floor. And the 20 mil floor, we talk about complicated. It doesn't get much more complicated than that.
Yeah.
But I tell people, I've heard Matt Nolan talk about the 20 mil floor, and I've never heard anyone explain it better. Yeah. So tell us, what is this 20 mil floor thing?
Yeah, it gets to the heart of all those things we were talking about. And if you go look at my YouTube videos from a decade ago, I would talk about how values go up, rates come down, and taxes even out. And for a lot of Montgomery County, that's been their experience in the urban counties and most of the state until this 20 mil floor. And that 20 mil floor is the minimum amount of millage that the schools must collect. And as a result, values go up and the rates don't come down anymore. And so people are starting to see their taxes go up at almost the same rate that their values went up, which has never happened before in Ohio. And that's where the combination of these extreme increases in value now relating to these really large increases in taxes. And that's really caused by this floor that doesn't allow the system to work and bring the rates down anymore.
So you mentioned the difference between urban counties and rural counties. So up until this past cycle, Montgomery County didn't have any school districts at the 20 mil floor. You probably have all your school districts.
All but two, all but Mason and Kings.
Mason and Kings. Yeah. It really, I thought was telling when Hamilton County, Cincinnati Public is at the 20 mil floor. It's a huge school district.
They had so much transition down there that kind of slipped through. I had no idea that was happening, and I think if it had, we would have been able to use it to explain things better. Yeah. But Cincinnati Public is the third or fourth largest district in the state of Ohio, and they're at the floor, and that's really showing people. And I think Toledo Schools is about to hit the floor. There's a lot of these big urban districts, and that's going to impact people severely.
Big time. Yeah. So our last update, Matt, we were at 34% average increase, and of course we have to tell people, there is no such thing as average, but that's the average increase. People understand that. But yeah, we had much higher than that and much lower than that, but that was the average. But on average, the taxes only went up. I want to say only. They didn't go up 34%.
Right.
I think that's the important thing. They went up on average about 5.5%, 6%, which is still a big jump. Still people but it's not 34%. And that's what you're talking about, how those reduction factors kick in.
When you're in Warren County, not the opposite, 28% value increase, and taxes went up about 20%.
Right.
And so that's the difference between being at the floor and not at the floor. I would always have said in the past, if you saw which Warren County, we typically had larger value increases than everyone else. You have a 15% value increase. It means a 4 or 5% taxes. That's what I'd tell them. And frankly, that was being safe because I knew it was going to be less than that. Now at 28%, you're seeing 20, 21, 22% tax increases, unvoted tax increases. And that is a lot of money coming at one time that people haven't budgeted for, people haven't prepared for. And we have farmers who saw 100% tax increases for the similar reasons because of their CAUV. And so that's just, we knew it was coming, and we tried to warn people, but the average person is not seeing that, and it affects them. That's a lot of money.
You mentioned the farmers, so there's this thing called CAUV. it's a current agricultural use value that people that are in commercial agriculture can take advantage of. It lowers the value of their value significantly. They get about a 50%, 85% cut in their value over it. But still, with this, it still causes their taxes to go up. And so they got this one cut on one hand, but on the other hand, it went up.
By far, the biggest number of complaints in Warren County over this last cycle, the last 2 months, have been CAUV participants.
Well, you probably have a larger. How many people are in CAUV? You know,
3,000, I believe. There is.
Okay, but you got bigger acreage and things than we would.
The big acreage isn't our problem. They knew this. Those are the problems that we have are the 7 acres with chickens that just didn't know this was coming. They're not part of the Farm Bureau. They don't know all of these things. And to see their taxes go up that much, those are by far the most frustrated people that I've done.
Well, we had it was a unique experience here in Montgomery County because, again, most of our school districts had not been at the 20 mil floor. But this last go around, we had 3 that reached the floor. Yeah. So Valley View in the Germantown area, sure. Miamisburg, and New Lebanon. Those 3 school districts all reached the 20 mil floor. And so, it illustrates the issue. Yeah. The rest of the county, the tax increase was average 5-6%. In those areas, now you're talking about the low teens, 15, 16%. And so it really illustrates what you're saying. So that's on our radar, right?
That's top of the list. Top of the list, yes.
So the County Auditors Association has some ideas or some proposals. Been a lot of talk about tax relief and a lot of proposals out there. And so, we're in the front lines dealing with this every day.
That's right.
And so under your leadership, we've been, because prior to being the president of our association, Matt was also the chairman of our property tax and valuation committees. That's right, yeah. So how soon we forget.
That was like a long time ago.
So you've been working on this, and we've come up with some ideas that we think will be effective. And the 20 mil floor issue is one of them. You want to talk about our proposal?
Sure. The idea of the 20 mil floor is that we didn't need to have levies all the time, that property taxpayers should pay up with inflation so that schools at least get inflation to cover their costs going forward. That's the idea behind it, and it makes good sense. The problem that we have now, though, is that values are far outpacing inflation. So all the auditors are asking is that we tamp that down a little bit, and that there still be increases to people's property taxes every 3 years with values, but it be capped at inflation. We want to cap the amount you have to pay. So if inflation's 7% over those 3 years, you can't pay more than 7% increase on average across. And that's gotten a lot of support once people understand it. It's complicated, but this idea that there should be a cap on what increases are, that seems to stick with a lot of the legislators. So there was a bill dropped this week by Representative Thomas from Northern Ohio to help push that idea and kind of, anytime you deal with property taxes and school funding, there's all constitutional issues, but to try to navigate that and push that forward.
So that's one of the, we come up with a 4. I think we have four primary interests that we could all agree on.
Yeah,
we all have other issues.
That's right.
There are other
we all
issues.
got it.
But we had 4 that we agreed on.
Yeah.
And so that was the 20 mil floor issue. Homestead. Let's talk about homestead.
Yeah. So, property taxes in general, you dislike them more than I do. As a whole, I like the idea of them in that, we get raises every year. We get, cost of living increases. So if our taxes go up a little at a time, that's not that big a deal. However, senior citizens don't. The permanently disabled don't. And our homestead program in Ohio is lacking. There's no other way to put it. Compared to most states, especially with states with property tax burdens like we have, they have much more robust homestead programs. Right now, you have to make $40,000 a year or less, and then that takes $25,000, about $400 in Warren County taxes off yours. That's nothing. And it hasn't kept up with inflation. Almost nobody in Warren County qualifies for it anymore.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah, and so, under past administrations, anybody that was 65 or older qualified. So we would like to see the amount that it takes to qualify go up significantly, I think at least double, and then the savings go up significantly. And it can be tiered, but we would like to see both of those numbers to go up to help people that are, you should never be at risk of losing your home over property taxes,
Right.
And so those people should be the ones we protect. And I really think the state should step in and help do that to protect the seniors and the disabled.
When you've heard me probably talk about the Summer of Love here.
Yes.
When they first made the change where anybody could be eligible if they were 65 or older,
Right.
we signed up 30,000 people that 3-month period that summer. We called it Summer of Love.
Absolutely.
But now they've been put back this income requirement. To me the notion that you're making $30,000 or $40,000 a year, that makes you a wealthy property owner is just ridiculous.
It really is.
It's really ridiculous. So I agree. We need to double that. Again, if it was up to me, I'd take away the income requirement altogether.
Sure, yeah.
But we need to double that and increase and that really, because it's really the amount of the benefit hadn't been adjusted for what? 18 years.
The whole time, yeah.
Yeah, and so the inflation had really decreased the amount. And I didn't realize this, so it had really dropped out. You didn't have anybody in.
Nobody's applied. The only people that we get to apply are the veterans who the income doesn't apply to. So if you are a disabled vet, the income doesn't apply to you. We've had a fair number of them apply, but that was about it. I mean, to live in Warren County, it's a very high cost of living. We just don't get many residents that are under that.
Well, we've certainly seen the numbers decline too. I mean, we were in the 40,000, and now it's down more to like 36,000, something like that. So we've seen those numbers go down, and those are folks that are on fixed incomes. Right. The program was designed to help them, and we're just not doing enough to help them, and it's really causing a problem. So I see those two issues: the 20 mil floor and the homestead exemption issue as the core of what we're is that fair to say?
I think that's exactly right, and I think the homestead issue, I think something's going to happen there. Last cycle, the House passed a version, the Senate passed a version. They just couldn't come together, so the support was there. I think it was almost unanimous in both houses. So that's frustrating on the legislative side, but the support was there. So I'm fairly confident something's going to happen on homestead. The other stuff we'll have to work harder on.
I tell people that it's frustrating sometimes with legislation because ideas that seem as no-brainers will sometimes take years to get through the legislature, and it's just very difficult.
It drives me nuts. Is it the executive branch where we can just kind of get things done and help people? And I've never been in the legislative branch, but it's frustrating.
No doubt about it. So we do have a couple of other recommendations. Yeah. It's not for you and me, it's not our primary push, but for others they are. Go ahead.
Yeah, and there is an issue in Ohio that we're seeing. It's affecting everything, where businesses are coming and buying up large portions of our residential property, and we see it. I always pick on American Homes for Rent. It's a large REIT out of California, and they buy up all these properties. That does two things. It lessens the amount of properties available for our kids and others to buy homes, but it also drives up the values because they're willing to pay more than you or I would for these properties because they're solely for investment purposes. But they get the same benefits that we get. They get a 10% non-business credit that the state pays on their behalf. Well, they're a business. They shouldn't get a non-business credit. So our proposal is take that credit away from them and use the money that you save from that to make the owner-occupied credit for the people that live in their homes go up. And so that's complicated. It's not just American Homes for Rent that is affected. It affects the person that owns 20 rental units too. Right. Mm-hmm. So it affects more people negatively in that regard. So that one we're still working on. There's a lot of support from Senator Blessing and some others to try and lessen the role that these people buying up residential homes for commercial purposes are. So there's that. And then there's the other fact, separate, is that we have 88 counties in Ohio. They're all very different. And so let's have some targeted programs, one called the Cleveland program, where they can give relief to certain areas. Let communities do more locally that may benefit them. You and I are neighbors. We can, be at each other's houses in 20 minutes, but Montgomery County and Warren County are very different.
Very different.
Let alone Vinton County or Pike County or Cuyahoga on the other extreme. And so to try and have...
Preble.
Well, Preble, yeah. To try to have policies in place that act exactly the same for all 88 is impossible. And so some targeted programs that if Cleveland wants to do it and they vote for it, great. Let them do it. We probably wouldn't do the same in Warren. But some programs like that we're trying to help support some of our members that would like that.
Just increase some of the discretion at the local level.
That's exactly right.
So we're out pushing these things, and you've joined me. You came and spoke at my Auditors Update earlier this year, and so we're out with our colleagues holding briefings on this subject. So here I brought a visual aid here. So we had a briefing up in Springfield, Clark County, and got some press out of that, and we've got some others. That's going well, I think.
I think so. I think we've got such a great group of auditors that are out, and they know their communities. So, in Clark and Union, they're out pressing what their issues are, and I don't know, you've doing this longer than I have. I feel like people are understanding it. They're appreciating the situation more, and this isn't something that's going to go away. So
Right.
if something doesn't get done, they're just going to keep dealing with this. So I think that's starting to gather some steam.
So I know we have some events coming. We have one in Hamilton County coming up, and in Butler County. We're going to be up in Wood County. I'm trying to get you to go with me up to Youngstown.
Go to Youngstown, yeah. That's
Athens. So we're moving around the state, and others are doing some of their own things too,
right.
and that's great. And again, like you said, our association is probably more united and more together on this issue than I've ever known them to be. So
a lot from your leadership, to get things like this going, and above the page article everywhere, every time it's brought up, and so above the fold, and that's not what it was 5 years ago when we were trying to do these efforts, and so it's definitely on top of the mind.
Yeah, we just didn't start this.
Yeah,
The problem didn't happen overnight, and it's not going to get fixed
That's
overnight. And so some of the things they talk about, you said constitutional issues, and we're trying to get something done that's more immediate, that helps people now, because they need the help now.
That's right.
Matt, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Thanks
The
for doing
time
this.
just flies by,
nice.
So I appreciate you making the trip up to Dayton today and joining me, and appreciate your leadership in our association, and really proud of you and the work you're doing in Warren County. So thank you very much.
I appreciate that. I appreciate everything you've always done for me and the association, and so it's great.
Great.
I love it.
Well, that's going to wrap us up for another episode of Odds and Ends. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next month.